Oh, hello, and welcome to another pandemically erotic episode of A Crept from the 80s. I am your host, Chris Seaver, as always, and we're still in those end days, my friends. We're still in that end time. You know, we're dealing with a lot of shit out there, and hopefully you've come to this channel, you've come to the show to take you away, to take you back to a simpler time. And today's episode is no exception. Today's episode, folks, I am going to be talking about my 80s and early 90s television collection on DVD and or Blu-ray. I've sort of done this before in the live streams that I've done, but I've gotten some things throughout the last couple of years that I've done that, and I'm going to go through them today. I'm going to try to go through them fast. I know that's hard for me because I like to talk about every experience that I've had with the show, and I will try to cut that down. I feel like sometimes it can be long-winded and I go off on other tangents, but we're going to try to stick with it. We're going to try to give you a nice, fun, concise, simple video of my 80s and early 90s television collection. So let's... Damn. Maybe we'll try to do... the cartoons first. The cartoons that I have... now remember, folks, the way that I am when I am doing these show-off videos for any of the things that I have, I'm not just a collector of those things. I'm not a collector of just regular 80s and early 90s ephemera. I just don't do it. I go after the things that I actually enjoyed and I actually had and I actually loved. And there's nothing wrong with collecting full lines of things or going after things that just because it's 80s you have to have it. I'm just not one of those people. I would prefer to be surrounded with the things that I actually loved, grew up with, and after watching certain, be it movies, television shows, whatever it is, becoming a fan and wanting that in my life, wanting to revisit it. And, you know, I'll be honest, some things haven't held up, but the majority of things have held up pretty well. So I will go through the cartoons first, huh? Or the more kid-centric stuff. Let me put these down here. Oh, we gotta get down here too. Yeah, it's going all over the place. Oh God. All right, so yeah, I mean, I've said it before, and I'll probably say it again. Everybody knows that I am a Hanna-Barbarian. I love Hanna-Barbera. I grew up with Hanna-Barbera, of course, we all did. I am not a Looney Tunes guy. I'm a Hanna-Barbera guy. And so, and that means not just, listen, because, sorry guys, because we, well, at least for me, but I would imagine the people who have watched this, because we were born in the 70s and grew up in the 80s, we were exposed to a lot of the, 60s and 70s cartoons as well. And Hanna-Barbera was just decades long of fantastic animation and entertainment. So I have, of course, the ScoobyDoo stuff. And I don't have all of it. I do have a lot of it on my wish list, but so I love ScoobyDoo. We all love ScoobyDoo. Come on. ScoobyDoo in all of his incarnations, actually. I love the 60s, 70s stuff, and in the 80s they made newer Hanna-Barbera Scooby-Doo cartoons, and I like those as well, and I gotta get those. 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo is a great series. But so I have complete seasons 1 and 2 right here. And then of course I have the first season of a pup named ScoobyDoo, which I also really enjoyed. That hit the airwaves in 1988. They're fairly cheap to get, and yeah, it's just easy. It's easy shit, and it's. I'm gonna say it a lot about a lot of this media, but it's a warm blanket. It makes you feel good. It puts smiles on your faces, and it just takes you back to that special time. And for the most part, like I said, this stuff still holds up and is really fun to watch. Also out there, the Hanna-Barbera, there was like a bunch of Hanna-Barbera compilations through Warner Brothers, and I had to get the 80s one, Saturday Morning Cartoons, Hanna-Barbera. This has a collection of a bunch of different television shows that I need to get their own series, their own DVDs of. I got this when it came out, and this was actually before some of those sets had been released, but I have to get some of these sets. But this is a great compilation of some of those 80s Hanna-Barbera cartoons. 1988, of course you got Denver the Last Dinosaur. I really like that show, and I still put it in my my Saturday morning sleepovers. Lots of people didn't even know what the hell Denver was, and then lots of people remembered the theme song. It's a very, come on, 80s catchy rock and roll cartoon theme songs. So this is thanks to my friend Zach. So this was the Captain and the Game Master set that came out on DVD, not the complete set. This was just like a starter set that a lot of those DVD companies will put out, just little compilations of the series. But my buddy Zach put the entire series on Blu-ray here for me to check out, which is awesome. Also from Hanna-Barbera, and you can actually still get certain merchandise from this cartoon, this franchise, at the Hallmark stores. But who remembers Shirttails? Here's Shirttails, the entire Hanna-Barbera series on Blu-ray. This is just a transfer of the DVD collection, the complete collection, onto onto Blu-ray. And there it is, Shirttails. Love Shirttails. Come on now. DuckTales, woo woo. I don't have the complete series, but this is volume 1 of the first season. And it's a lot. It's a lot of episodes. After schools, man. Running home to watch DuckTales. Sometimes Sunday mornings. Here's a fun show. Another Milk Creek release. Milk Creek has released a lot of really great stuff. Certainly 80s wise, and just stuff that I'm really appreciating that they're taking the time to restore and put some value into. But this is one of those, great theme songs. Dennis the Menace, the complete series. This is the complete series, folks. I believe this was really cheap on Amazon. I think this was only like $10, maybe $11, something like that. Great. But it was a great cartoon. I always watched it. It was super fun, so I had to have it. Of course, this is the complete collection of The Littles. We are the Littles. Jimmy Van Brent to and fro. Yep, I love The Littles. Again, another great theme song. This was a Deke cartoon. Lots of Deke in here. And I also throw The Littles in my Saturday morning sleepovers. But this is the complete set. It also has the 2 Littles feature films that were made on this set. But this is another set that's fairly cheap. I believe I got this one on eBay because I only paid $10 for it. But it's all of it, man. I'll put these guys together. classics. Some more Hanna-Barbera. Season 1, Volume 1 of the Smurfs. We all grew up with the Smurfs. Maybe you still enjoy the Smurfs. I do as well. I do, man. I do. And I know somebody else out there does. Mr. Bobby Heckman. Mr. Dobby. You know, Mr. Dean Heckman. Stoink, stoink, my good man. He loves the Smurfs. I love the Smurfs. Everybody loved the Smurfs. Who remembers this cartoon? Because I've talked to people about this cartoon, and nobody remembers what I'm talking about. Nobody remembers the cartoon of what I'm talking about. But man, I loved it. And this is the Hanna-Barbera PacMan cartoon. This has a couple seasons. This is the first complete season. I really dug it. Another great, memorable theme song to me, as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, I will get the second season. And then later on, they would, as part of the USA Cartoon Express, they would rerun like just chunks of Hanna-Barbera cartoons. You know, even if it was still in the 80s, once those cartoons hit their quote-unquote syndications, USA Cartoon Express would show all of those cartoons, and it was great. So, like years after I was like, oh, why aren't they making Pac-Man anymore? It would show up on Cartoon Express, and that was awesome. Saturday mornings, man. One of my favorite Hanna-Barbera, Captain Caveman. This is Captain Caveman and the Teen Angels. This is the complete series. Those Hanna-Barbera discs, man. I got more to get, man. Hong Kong Phooey. What about Yogi, man? Yogi's Christmas. That was a classic for me. The Yogi Family Christmas, whatever it was. Let's see. Oh, this is fun. So this is 11 action-filled episodes of Rambo, the cartoon. Who remembers the Rambo cartoon? I do. It came out. This was in the long line of rated R films being transferred to kids' entertainment. They did it with RoboCop. They did it with The Toxic Avenger. They did it with Police Academy. And they did it with Rambo. The cartoon came out after First Blood Part 2. And it just warmed the hearts of families everywhere. And it's just a really fun, silly cartoon. And Rambo doesn't sound anything like Rambo. He's got a voice like this in the cartoon. Nothing like this. I don't know why they didn't do this. All right, your kids' entertainment, they can understand this. It's gibberish. All right. So this is the Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure cartoon. This is 2 discs worth. I'm not sure if they ever put out a full, complete series of the cartoon, but when this came out, I grabbed it fast when it first came out. Now this is a cartoon from 1991. The bunch of merchandise, the Kenner toys, the cereal, which I showed off last episode. Somewhere around here. Yeah, I showed off the cereal last episode. But so the Bill and Ted stuff really hit when Bogus Journey was coming out. And I lapped it all up, and I'm re-getting it. But it's a fun cartoon. The first season has the original voices, Keanu Reeves and Alex Winter. And it's a really fun, silly cartoon. George Carlin as well. Classic. Now this hurts me. This hurts me, folks, because when the original set of this series came out, it was the big, at the time it was like one of the biggest. It was such a great collection, and it was the #1 thing I wanted for Christmas that year when it was released. It was very expensive. And I believe it might have been the only thing that I got for Christmas that year from my wife at the time. But it was the Real Ghostbusters Firehouse complete series set. So it was all of the Real Ghostbusters cartoon with Slimer and the Real Ghostbusters. and a whole bunch of extra material and everything. And I stupidly sold it a couple years later, as one does to live, got to pay some bills, got to pay rent, what have you, whatever it is. And I stupidly sold it, and I wish I didn't. So I went about recollecting, and I only have, which is mind-boggling to me, but I will get them all. I only have the first volume of the Real Ghostbusters, the Steelbook set. And I know you can get them all now on Amazon and everything, and I will. And I feel like this is one of those cartoons that, before it started getting into Slimer and the Real Ghostbusters, and really the first couple of seasons only, for me, they truly hold up, and there's some really good writing by a lot of very talented writers and comic book writers, and just they did a good job. And for me, Real Ghostbusters is one of those cartoons that absolutely still holds up. Love Ghostbusters, love this franchise. I'm a little sad that now we gotta wait pretty much a year now until Ghostbusters 3 comes out. It has been moved to March of 2021, thanks to COVID. Thank you very much, you bastard. Let's see. Here's some fun joints. So this is. How many people remember this cartoon? You might remember the toys. The toys were cool. They weren't as cool as I remember them being when I was, because I've been recollecting a lot of my past. And the figures for the toys were little brown figures that really didn't do anything. And it didn't have much connection to the cartoon other than some of the way the vehicles looked. But I'm talking about the Wheeled Warriors. The cartoon was Jason the Wheeled Warriors. But the toys were just basically the vehicles, the biomechanical vehicles that you could mix and match with good and bad guys. But the series was dope. The series was really awesome. This is the complete series, again from Mill Creek, and with a wicked rad, awesome theme song, sung by the same singer of The Mask, and Shooky Levy and Haim Saban. Those guys were. I'm going to do an episode on those two, because they're responsible for some of the raddest tunes out of the 80s. So yeah, Jason the Wheeled Warriors. Good show. Complete series, only $9. $9. You hearing? Of course, one of my favorite franchises out of the 80s. One of my favorite toy lines and cartoon and everything. We got Kenner's Mask. This is the complete series. Well, sort of the complete series. There's, I think there's 10 episodes that aren't a part of this set. But it doesn't matter, because once it gets to even with the toy line, I just didn't like when they changed to like the NASCAR stuff. That wasn't for me. I just didn't like that. I preferred the original. Even with the toy lines, I'm like, I cut off after like Series 3. And I don't even have a lot of Series 3. I didn't have a lot of Series 3, so I'm only getting what I had. But it's mostly those first two series. But the show is fantastic. It's so fun. It's, come on, it's Kenner's G.I. Joe and Transformers mashed together. And it's super fun. And again, the theme song is rad. So rad. Everyone remembers it. Ma Mask. But there it is, man. Mask. So good. Okay, so this isn't cartoon, but it's kids, and we all grew up with the Henson stuff, Jim Henson stuff. I've said it before, I absolutely loved Jim Henson. I grew up admiring that man and everything that he was doing. From the Muppets, Fraggle Rock, all of the movies he was doing and a part of, Storytellers, like all of those shows. Jim Henson, the Henson Company, so magical. So yeah, us kids born in the 70s and growing up in the 80s, we loved the Muppet Show. Why they don't have the other season, I don't know. Why we don't have more Muppet Show on DVD? I can't imagine these didn't do well. Are you kidding me? It's the Muppet Show. But at least we got 3 seasons of the Muppet Show on here. And then I have the complete 35th anniversary edition of Fraggle Rock on Blu-ray. And I still haven't been able to get through all the extras on these discs. And I can't wait to, because it's fascinating stuff. And I just love it. Smiles, my man. Smiles. You know? Sesame Street, all that stuff. It's just, the guy was... That team in general, man. Damn, that team in general. And we got Rankin and Bass. Rankin and Bass popping them out. Rankin and Bass. They weren't just known for their amazing holiday specials, folks. They were also known for some really rad animation and some very, I'm not going to say popular. One of them was uber popular, but not all of the stuff they put out in the 80s was popular. Yeah, like, we'll get there. I'm not going to talk too much about a certain line, but Rankin and Bass did it. But I will. Okay, I'm talking about Silverhawks. Silverhawks. I didn't. There's people who absolutely love Silverhawks. I had a few of the toys, and I did watch the cartoon here and there, but that wasn't the pinnacle of Rankin and Bass animation to me. That wasn't the pinnacle of the franchise stuff that was coming out back then, associated with Rankin and Bass. I'm talking about Thundercats. Ho! Thundercats. This is the complete series. It's all him. Everything for your viewing pleasure, for your feline fetish. It's all here, folks. Thundercats. I loved Thundercats growing up. This is a show that, for me, I've said over and over and over again throughout the years that it's a cartoon that still holds up for me. The series was dope. The action figures were awesome from LJN, and I'm recollecting the action figures that I had. In fact, I just got a complete Mumra for a very good price, thanks to an online chum. But, yes, I'm recollecting only the Thundercats that I had, and that's, I had the main line, and then I had the Berserkers. I had the Thunder Tank. I didn't have the playset, unfortunately. But the playset, if you see it now as an adult, for me, it isn't as alluring as it was as a kid. And it certainly isn't as playable. It doesn't have that playability like Castle Grayskull or Ewok Village or something like that. But I love Thundercats, man. Thundercats. Speaking of Thundercats, this is the 2011 complete series of Thundercats on Blu-ray. Fantastic. Phenomenal. Loved it. I'm even thinking about getting the toy line from this show. I know Super 7 is keeping it alive with their uber expensive action figures that sell out, and then assholes like to make them even more expensive. So here are, of course, He-Man, Masters of the Universe, the complete collection. She-Ra, Princess of Power, the complete collection. And then the 2002 He-Man, Masters of the Universe animation cartoon collection, the complete series. All wonderful. Now, what I'll say about He-Man, and I've said it before, I love this franchise. This is one of the biggies for me. Growing up in the entirety of the 80s, He-Man was half of it. You know what I'm saying? So I'm doing my recollects of the toys and getting some of the classics and the newer stuff that's coming out. He-Man Origins that's coming out from Mattel back on toy shelves. Retail. The reason I have the He-Man show or love it at all is because of nostalgia. I feel like the show itself, as a 40-something, it really, it was a kid's show, and I don't think it was written as well as it could have been, and it didn't need to be, you know? So I will absolutely say that I don't think the cartoon is very good, but I have it for those warm, fuzzy feelings, and I get a good laugh out of it. But I have to have it. I gotta have it. It's part of my childhood, and part of my childhood that to this day that I still love. It's just the cartoon itself. It's something else. Now, what I will say is that the She-Ra cartoon does hold up better than Masters of the Universe. And I think it's because the writing was a tad better. I also always have loved the Horde more than I love Skeletor and his bumbling boobs. While I love that stuff, and it's all comedy to me, and I get a huge kick out of it. The dark side, the evil side of the Sievage, loves the Horde far more. And I just think some of the stories were better told in the She-Ra cartoon. And that's just me. There's going to be a lot of disagreement out there. But I think She-Ra still holds up. And I got to be honest, man. I enjoyed the new She-Ra show on Netflix. I thought it was pretty decent. Now, the Masters of the Universe 2002 cartoon is phenomenal. Great writing, great animation. The toy line was really awesome, and I had almost all of that toy line, and I sold it all. But looking back, looking at it now, I don't need those. Nah. But the cartoon is phenomenal, and I've watched this several times over since this cartoon came out. So here is. Oh wait, you know what? Let's see. What other? Well, this is fun. This is Kitty, I suppose. It certainly is. And he's on my shirt. This is the Hey Vern Its Ernest television show, the complete series from Mill Creek. I watched this show. I'm a huge Ernest fan, Jim Varney fan. Where I was growing up in Wellsville in the early 80s, we started seeing Ernest commercials because he was pimping everything commercial-wise, and my grandfather just loved the commercials, and I remember just laughing my ass off at Ernest. And then the movie started coming out, and I went to the first 5. Because they were the only theatrical Ernest films. After the 5th one, it tanked. And the 5th one sucks anyway. But those first 4 Ernest movies are gold. And I saw them all in theaters. And I loved them to death. And then in '88, the cartoon started. Hey Vern Its Ernest. And here he is. I gotta have it. I love my Ernest. You 80s collectors surely have this. This is the complete Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles series on DVD in this beautiful turtle van. Yeah, I mean, we will probably do a whole Turtles episode because there's a lot to talk about. Definitely a lot to talk about, certainly pertaining to me and growing up with the Turtles. I've got a lot to say. So we'll do its own, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles episode for sure. But this is the cartoon. This I knew about it when it came out, but at that point, when this came out, not that I wasn't watching silly stuff and goofy stuff and kid stuff and, whatnot. It just wasn't something that I sat down and gave a lot of time to. But the Weird Al Yankovic Show came out in 1997. I was 20 years old at the time. But I got the set because I wanted to watch some crazy shit with my son. So I got the Weird Al Show because as he was growing up, I wanted him to enjoy all the stuff that I was enjoying. Weird Al being a huge part of my childhood, and I have all the 80s and early 90s Weird Al cassettes still. My original cassettes that I had, I still have them. I love Weird Al. Old Weird Al, man. Great stuff. But like Pee-wee's Playhouse, like River has the entire collection in his room of Pee-wee's Playhouse. It's not in here, it's in his room. But yeah, so it was like Weird Al's version of Pee-wee's Playhouse. The Weird Al Show. This is the complete series of Back to the Future, the cartoon. This came out in 1992. And there wasn't like a huge, other than the movies being, 1 and 2. Certainly 1. Watch our Back to the Future episode down on the channel. It's great. It's a blast from the past, my man. But because I was goo goo gaga for Back to the Future, I lapped this television show up, this cartoon. It's got live action performances from Thomas F. Wilson, who played Biff. Of course, Christopher Lloyd as Doc Brown is on here as well. But it's a great cartoon, and I think it's really fun, and I think it still holds up. And it was really big, when Burger King, McDonald's, they were doing all the toys back in the day. I remember vividly the toy line that came in I have seen them around in the wild, and I don't know why I haven't picked them up, but they were fun little toys. Definitely Marty with the hoverboard. But NECA, just like with Bill and Ted, NECA is putting out the cartoon versions of Back to the Future, the characters, as well as Bill and Ted from the cartoons. And I am definitely going to get them. They look fantastic. They look straight out the cartoon! Okay? Liquid. Okay, so let's get into the television shows that I have on DVD from the greatest decade of all time. I don't have as many as I would like. A lot of the shows are on my wish list, my Amazon wish list, and I've got a lot of wish lists on Amazon. Can I tell you that? So all of these are shows that I watched, and I loved, and I am happy to have back in my life. This is the Blu-ray set from Mill Creek of Knight Rider. Come on. What 80s kid didn't love Knight Rider? We were enthralled with Michael Knight and Kit. The action, the adventure, nay, the passion. I have seen, before I got this set, thanks to a one Mr. Sean Pinkerton, I had seen a bunch of reviews for how bad they thought this set looked. But I gotta tell you, I've watched it now on my 120-inch projector screen, and I've watched it on my 4K, my 65-inch 4K TV, and I think it looks fantastic. I really do. There's one glitch in the first episode that kind of pissed me off, and I was like, but other than that, so far, so good, man. I think it looks great, and I love, for me, Knight Rider was far more entertaining as a kid as it got, near the end of the show because those last couple of seasons they went wacky with it. They did a lot of weird shit with it, weirder than it was, and I totally love that. If a show can like jump the shark and get a little wacky, I appreciate that. So we got Knight Rider going on here. Now these fall into the fun category of when we were kids in the 80s, we were also subject to a lot of the shows of the 60s and 70s that were on reruns. And thanks to, syndication and certainly Nickelodeon and whatnot, we got to see a lot of really great television shows from back then. And one, I fell in love with The Munsters. This is the complete series, The Munsters. This also has the Munsters Go Home and Munsters Revenge on it. It's got some fun extras as well, but I absolutely adore The Munsters. And this was one of those shows that my kid watched twice now. He's watched the full series twice and really enjoys it. But, we grew up with The Munsters. I love The Munsters. Charlie's Angels on Blu-ray. This is the complete series. Mill Creek on Blu-ray. I watched Charlie's Angels. Come on now. Adolescent boy watching those fancy feathered voluptuous bovines jaunting around and doing action-packed things in their slacks. Hell yeah. I can't wait to dip into this. This is the complete series. I also really want... I feel like I really enjoyed The Partridge Family, definitely The Brady Bunch, My Favorite Martian, Mr. Ed. Those shows... I would love to have. I don't know why I don't have Three's Company. I absolutely love that show. Jack Tripper and Mr. Furley. They were... my man, Jack Tripper. You guys will know what I'm referencing there. Crown rest your soul, Haim. But yeah, there's still so many things I need to get. And I will. And this was also a gift from Sean Pickerton, and this is the complete series of Gilligan's Island. And of course I grew up with Gilligan. Come on now. We did. I was watching all that shit. Sometimes it would all be back to back, man. You'd get the Brady Bunch, you get Gilligan's Island, you get the Munsters, Partridge Family, the Monkees. I love the Monkees. I actually really love the Monkees. So there we go. This is, these are modern. But, it's a great show. You guys should check it out if you're 80s freaks like myself. If you grew up in the 80s, born in the 70s, growing up in the 80s. This is the Goldberg Show. I only have the first 4 seasons on DVD. I hope to get the others soon, but I think it's a fantabulous show. Brings back great memories and memories. This is, I've talked about this show before, Misfits of Science from 1985. It's a 1 season. If you want to know about Misfits of Science, check out the video down in the channel. I loved this show. I've got a great story about me in 1985 in this show. But you gotta watch that episode. Anyway, Misfits of Science. Great show. This is the complete series DVD. They're all there. No matter what you think of her, you can't deny the hours upon hours, years upon years of entertainment that she brought to us 80s kids and 90s. Roseanne, this is the complete series of Roseanne, Mill Creek, got it all here. I love the show. I ain't too proud to beg. I don't care. I love it. Suck my doink. 4th season is in River's room somewhere. But Elf, come on, we grew up with Elf, 1986. This is the first 3 seasons. The 4th season is in River's room. This is a show that when River was little, we watched all the time together. I just love showing him all the 80s stuff. And Elf was everywhere. Elf, I mean, it's a big part of this room. It's a big part of my growing up. I loved the cartoon, the animated adventures. I went on to Elf Tales, and then I loved the comics, the Elf comics. But yeah, Elf is great. He had that fun little comeback about a decade ago, where he was like a talk show host. That was great. Ooh. Oh, look here. Oh, 1984. Tales from the Darkside, the complete series. If you love Romero, you love Stephen King, you love horror, this was a fantastic show. Creepy ass opening. But yeah, it was syndicated, and I loved it and watched it. And it was fun. Late nights, curling up with the little Tales from the Darkside as a little boy. Dope. Ooh, another fantastic anthology show. This is the 1st season, Amazing Stories. You guys remember Amazing Stories? So good. Steven Spielberg, man. So many great directors and writers did episodes of Amazing Stories, and there's 2 seasons, and Amazing Stories is back on Apple TV, and I need to find those episodes. It's only 5 episodes for that 1st season, that new 1st season. I want to check them out, but the originals, man, so good. I still need to get season 2, but choice amazing episodes. My favorite episode of Amazing Stories, hands down, is Mummy Daddy. Hands down. Oh, who remembers, I certainly do, who remembers the after-school specials? This is 1982 to 1986 after-school specials. I have not dipped into this yet, but I can't wait to. I can't wait to see the melodrama, the ridiculous overacting. Serious. I mean, this was like America's version of trying to do Degrassi Junior High. But Degrassi Junior High were far more hardcore when they were showing you the explicitity of what real life kids and teens were dealing with. And speaking of Degrassi, here we have the complete Degrassi Junior High and Degrassi High, the complete series. Folks, I love this show. When I was growing up, I was probably, at the time, 11, 12. So they were showing Degrassi Junior High and Degrassi High on PBS in America. This is a Canadian show. And then every now and again, in our health class, they would show episodes of Degrassi Junior High. And it was awesome. And I loved it. I loved the way they talked. It was the first time I had correlation to, wait a minute, these guys are Canadian and they sound like this. Because I remember always being weirded out when watching You Can't Do That on Television because of the way all the kids talked and the way all they said, how some of them would say Alanis. They would say Alanis and sorry and things like that. And a boot, of course. But then I was like, wait a second, they're Canadian, so that's it. So, late 80s awakening of Canadian accents and the way they talk and whatnot. I don't know, but these shows are so badass. I love them. Love them so much. And I've rewatched them over and over and over again. Degrassi Junior High and Degrassi High. Let's see. These, because these are more... These are on the cusp. My Two Dads. Loved My Two Dads. For some reason, this... I don't even... There might be a second season on DVD, but I want to say for some reason this is the only DVD that came out for My Two Dads, but this is the complete first season. And I love this show. You can count on me. Now, for the longest time, this show didn't get other seasons. It was so bizarre, but now you can get every season on DVD. And I'm talking about Perfect Strangers. This is only the first and second season, but you can get them all. They're right on Amazon, and I need to get them. Who didn't love Balky? Cousin Larry. Come on. And believe me, so many of these television shows have just oozingly juicy, nostalgic theme music to them. And I love it. Love it so much. Perfect Strangers is one of those. The Blu-ray and the other miniseries is downstairs, but this is the V television show. And the miniseries are downstairs in the theater room. Love V. Grew up with V. It was 2 miniseries and then a television show. The television show isn't that great, but I have it because I love the show. I love the whole V mystique, the mythos. It was a huge deal in 1983 in our household. I remember it very well. I've talked about it. We have a V episode down in the channel. Check it out. Again, this is one of those shows that needs to have every single season on DVD, and it hurts me that it's not out. But I got the first season. Silver Spoons, Ricky Schroeder. So good. Alfonso Ribeiro. Great theme song. Together We're Gonna Find Our Way. It really is a bummer that you can't get any more of these seasons on DVD. But I love Silver Spoons, man. So good, so I have to have it. In that vein, why aren't the rest of the seasons on DVD? This is bewildering to me. This is up there as one of my favorite television shows of all time. Who's the Boss? This is the complete first season. Again, you can't get any more of the seasons on DVD. Boggles my mind.
Hey, Angela, Mona, Samantha, Jonathan.
But, yeah. I need to get the last 2 seasons, and I will. Because this is up there in the probably top 10 favorite television shows of all time. Punky Brewster, this is seasons 1 and seasons 2. I love Punky. We will probably be doing a Punky-centric episode of its own. Especially with the new Punky Brewster coming out. It's the continuing saga of the Punky Brewster world, franchise, universe. Soleil Moon Frye is reprising her role as Punky, and it's coming to the Peacock network. So I can't wait for that. Love Punky. And, the other season is over there. I have, so far, I think these last few are probably on the list of my top 10 television shows of all time. Diffrent Strokes. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and season 6 is sitting over there. I love Diffrent Strokes. I just need to get season 7 and season 8, and they're very cheap on Amazon, so I will be getting them soon. But I grew up with Diffrent Strokes, watched it when it originally aired, and then watched it all the time in reruns. Love it. The trials and tribulations of Arnold, Willis, Kimberly, and Mr. Drummond. What you talking about, Dudley? What you talking about, Bicycle Man? Another top 10. I need to get the other 4 seasons of this, and I will. Crom damn it, I will. Growing Pains. I only have the first 3 seasons. I need them all. Oh. I've always said that because I had an absentee dad growing up. So I always said that my dads were my TV dads, and I had Alan Thicke, I had Michael Gross, and I had Tony Danza. Those were my 3 TV dads that I always said like meant something to me. So it was a real kick in the giblies when Alan Thicke died. It was a it was rough. You can get all of these seasons, and I only have the first 2, but I will track all of them down. Charles in Charge, 1 and 2. Love the show. The continuing adventures of Scott Baio and Willie Ames. Behind me, the Zapped poster. Grew up with Zapped too. And Zapped again. But I love these. Charles in Charge. I've talked about this. This has its own episode down in the channel. This is the complete series of The Facts of Life. One of my favorite television shows ever of all time. For sure. Hands down. Crown Bless You. Mrs. Garrett and the Girls. I love this show. Love it, love it, love it. You can watch that episode to get my full passionate response. And that, of course, is definitely in the top 10. And so are these last 2 for sure. This is the complete series of The Wonder Years. Kevin Arnold. Winnie Cooper. We all had Winnie Coopers, didn't we? I certainly did. I've talked about her before. Her name was Jen Sarah. She was my Winnie Cooper. And she's the one that got away. I love the show. Passion. Passion! You see what I'm saying? It was exactly like that. And then the last of the... Okay, before it gets into the early 90s, the last of the 80s... I mean... This is probably up there in the top 3 of favorite television shows ever. This is Family Ties, the complete series. It's all here. All the Keatons. All the time. All Nick.
Hey.
This show, so great. I've talked about this show, and believe me, this show is going to get its own episode as well. Casey and I are going to do an episode on Family Ties. And I'll talk about a very funny memory that's connected to Family Ties that I have. And I will talk about it on that episode. But damn. So as you can see, I have so many more to go when it comes to collecting 80s television on DVD or Blu-ray. And I will. I will get there. I will get to... And again, I'm only getting what I absolutely had or absolutely watched and loved as a kid and a teenager. So now we'll dip into the early 90s. So this was a show. This was a short-lived show. It came out in 1990. And it's called They Came from Outer Space. And it has the dynamic duo of Dean Cameron and Stuart Fracken, who are basically reprising their roles from Ski School, but which is a 1989 gem. But I love this show, and I love these two. The comedy gold that came out of this show is fantastic. If you haven't seen it, it's super cheap to get. Do yourself a favor and grab this set. It's the complete series, and it's really fun. It's about these two aliens who came from outer space and go to California and live out their creams. You know what I'm saying? Hijinks ensue. The 1990 Flash. This show is so good. Great writing. Theme song by Danny Elfman. This was right when Warner Brothers was kicking ass with the Batman movie, and this was their live action television show, The Flash. So good. John Wesley Shipp signed it for me at a Chiller Theater, and he went on to play Barry Allen's dad in the new Flash, and then also this Flash from World 1990 or whatever. I love it. I love it. And I love the new Flash. But this Flash is great. 1990, man. It's so good. I've watched that so many fucking times. Then we got one of my favorite television shows of all time that just adds to the list of one of my favorite television shows of all time. Salute Your Shorts. This is the complete series. It's a crom-damn travesty that this isn't available for real, official on DVD. But I got this set straight from Michael Bauer himself, Donkey Lips. Not only does this have every episode, which is only 2 seasons, folks. Ridiculous. It felt like 17 seasons. Because Nickelodeon replayed this over and over and over again. But this has extra features as well. Behind the scenes chicanery. From the kids at Camp Anawana. Anawana, huh? Hey man, what are you going to do? I like Blossom. So I got the first 2 seasons of Blossom. This is another show that does not have all the seasons out. Why can you get all of Family Matters? Why can you get all of Full House? Why can you get all of The Fresh Prince, which aired back to back with Blossom? But no, you can only get the first 2 seasons of Blossom. And I got them. I like Blossom. Whoa! Don't know about the music. And now, one of my favorite. This is up there, folks. This is up there. Early 90s. Actually, 1990 to, I want to say 1994. And this only has the first 2 seasons out, and I got to get the second season. Folks, I've had a lot of these series all before on DVD, and I've sold them before, sometimes twice over, and then have recollected. Now I'm at a point where I am not going to sell any of these at all, ever again. This time I'm playing for keeps. I'm talking about Parker Lewis Can't Lose. I will probably go into its own video for when we do our series of Crept from the 90s episodes. I've said so much about this show, but it's so fantastic. Actually, I've already done its own episode. It's down here in the channel, the Parker Lewis Can't Lose episode. I completely forgot I did it. But it's there for your viewing pleasure. And so, you can beat and enjoy. But Parker Lewis Can't Lose. And that, my friends, so far... Oh! Thanks to... This is 80s. There was never a release of this, which is weird. There should be. But... So a long time ago, I got a bootleg of this show on DVD. And I found the bootlegs recently, and I asked my friend Zach to put them all on Blu-ray. And he did. So this is the Blu-ray of the entire series of Bionic 6. The short-lived cartoon series from 1986. And the short-lived franchise, toy line from LJN, which I'm trying to recollect because I had pretty much all of them, other than the base. But Bionic 6. So here's that. So yeah, so that's it. That is my collection of 80s and early 90s television. And I hope you enjoyed going down memory lane. Maybe you forgot about some things. Maybe you too have some of these on your favorites list. And there will be more. I will, once I accumulate more of my re-80s to myself of these shows, I will do more of this series of showing off my collections and whatnot. So thank you, and thank you for watching A Crept from the 80s, and we'll see you on another episode. Please tell your friends, if you like the video, subscribe. If you're an 80s freak, check out all the other videos. There's a lot of videos on here going down memory lane. It's a nostalgia channel for those of us who are in their dotage and still want to hang on to what it was like being a kid in the entirety of the 1980s. So, thanks again, and we'll see you on another pandemically erotic episode of A Crept from the 80s. Goodbye for now!